everybody. Welcome once again. This is the second part, naging apat, pangalawa lang pala, second part of my wonderful chat with Donna Pangilinan-Simpao, who is an amazing woman. Not only is she a medical doctor, but I think yung pagiging medical doctor nga niya is probably on the last of the list because she's more known as a mom to four wonderful children, of course, wife to Gilbert. One of our prime movers in the homeschool movement here in the Philippines, the former president of HAPI, and now nag-transition to Lakshmi Maluya, who was my guest last week, and amazing things happening now in the homeschool community. And she's here with us for this second part of our discussion. And we left off with this question of, when is it right for me to be helping others? Like, if I'm part of a community, should I jump right away into helping others, based on your experience as a homeschool mom for 17 years?
Just like in everything, the incoming, all the things that the internet has provided, online has provided, has its pros and cons. So when we were starting our homeschooling, there was nothing of that sort. So it was not easy access. So I'm just saying that because that's where I came from, where you really needed to have face-to-face. You really need to call somebody who you needed help from. You were homeschooling. And so the pressure of keeping up with others, the pressure of having seen how everybody homeschools, how everybody's houses look like, and how everybody's homeschool room, how so much curriculum is out there, was not there at the beginning when I was homeschooling. So parang that sort of protected you from the pressure nga that online has brought in, diba? Into having access to everybody else's homeschool life, no? But I think what was important then was somebody coming alongside you. It didn't have to be an organized group. It could just be a friend, a sister, a neighbor, a churchmate. But your focus was really in finding your groove as a homeschooler, your rhythm, the setting, the atmosphere, the priority, and you yourself, from even if I was trained in med, kala mo it would be a swift, kayang-kaya to. No, I mean, there was really a period of talagang birth pains and figuring out. So if you put the pressure of having to help someone else on top of everything that's happening, you might end up hilaw in everything, parang you're spreading yourself too thinly. And that's when I started, because I sort of like found myself helping somebody too early or others too early, that I had to put a stop and say, wait a minute, I'm homeschooling and I'm helping others homeschool. And it was already sort of like affecting our day-to-day as homeschoolers. So that, of course, some people can easily glide through it, because it's also good to use helping others as a modeling, diba? I mean, you can never stop helping others. So you model empathy, you model helpfulness to your children, you bring them to that level that you're supporting another family. But you have to have a way of checking yourself. Is it already becoming too stressful that you're giving scraps not to the home and then giving too much outside?
So what I'm hearing here is that you need to be aware of your own season, and just because it's almost like a thing now to be coming alongside everyone or to be helping each other, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's for you as well.
At that time, yes.
Right.
And,
so,
but that takes a lot of you getting to know first what season you're in, whether the uniqueness of this season. So you kind of know your boundaries, that not yet. And listen. I mean, if you are guided by God, or if you want to be guided, you listen, and
right.
Then you'll know, no, not yet.
I think it's also important to if you are a leader of a community and you're challenging people to volunteer or to be part of
Yes.
um,
Uh,
a bigger endeavor, I think it's also important to give others the opportunity to say no.
yeah, yes, yes. I mean, homeschooling in itself is a 24/7 life, right? So,
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. It's not a
I,
segment in
yeah,
a day. It's the
yeah,
entire day.
it never ends. So, if you can find a way of weaving lang, weaving your help for others,
If it harmonizes with
right,
what is
harmonize
already there,
there, yes.
right? So
But
I'm thinking,
if it eats on it and it makes you choose, it stresses you out,
right,
and you end up so maybe that's a sign.
right. So what I'm hearing is the moment you start getting stressed
Oh,
over your involvement outside of your own homeschool, that might be a red flag, right?
yeah, and if your children are noticing it too and voicing it out,
Right.
yeah, because you're not Messiah, you're not gonna help everybody,
Correct.
Don't try to be the Messiah
Right.
of
Right.
Judaism.
Because like you said earlier, parang hindi naman one size fits all, you know. Some can really slide into the role of helping and being able to maintain their homeschool scenario, but others can't juggle two
Yeah,
things at the same time or three things at the same time.
yeah,
So that's a very good point that you mentioned, so that we don't feel guilty,
yes,
you know, like, oh, yung iba kong mga homeschool mama friends, they're into this. How come I'm not
yeah,
doing it with them?
yeah.
So,
And I think one more thing is a new homeschool parent is just still discovering themselves. If you
right,
put them right away in a support group and then they see, nga, because of online, access, they lose themselves because they want to be like everybody else. They lose that privacy of I want to build myself first. And then when I'm already built, when I know the philosophy that I want, when I know more or less my kids, when I've come for a groove, then I can share to others. I can now see other people's lives without me feeling envious, or you built yourself strong enough for you to be very sort of like calm and stable in seeing other people's lives.
right. And there's that level of credibility and authenticity as well.
Yes. Oh,
Right. You will
yeah,
not give in at the slightest pressure because
yeah,
you're sure-footed already.
yeah,
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 I like that. I like what you're saying. And so we're saying here that it's good to be part of a community, right? But we
mhm,
have to know who we are and what
yes,
our homeschooling style is, what our homeschooling approach is, so that we don't get swayed with the
yes,
flow also of the
uh,
community. We can
uh,
stand our ground.
yeah,
Yeah. So another thing that I realize is present in every community is that earlier you also mentioned, um, families have different ways of doing things, right? So, and they would have different approaches to homeschooling. The other episode we were talking about how organically people tend to gravitate,
mhm,
people with similarities gravitate towards each other, right? So how did you handle differences? Because there would still be differences even if your community is pretty much homogeneous.
mhm.
Somehow
Yeah,
there are still differences because we're all unique, right? Every
yeah, yeah,
homeschool family is different.
yes.
So as a community moderator, or a part, even if you're just part of a community, how do you handle the diversity?
I think the fact that we're an umbrella organization or umbrella group, there's really more space for everybody. So people know that we are the pot or the soup for everyone else. So I think it's just first that you've seen the results of all the different methods and approaches and philosophies from different faiths and everything, and you have great products of all different diverse backgrounds and diverse styles, so you know that there is no one formula to it. So, and that's the beauty of it, because the child is so unique. So definitely the methods will be unique. So yun lang, I think the growth mindset. And you're so curious to learn. If only you have the enough time and the brain to understand everybody's style and figure out, you're just curious to learn how did you guys do it, in your
Right.
specific situation, and you're just really
Right.
willing to learn. So it's just recognizing that everyone's unique, so all the styles are unique, and so so everyone's welcome. I remember when we do the seminars, I always say there's no homeschool expert, because there's like 30, 40,000. I mean, the homeschooling setup that we embraced in our group is that how many setups are there? So you cannot be an expert of all the setups, di ba? Not like in a traditional schooling or something, that there are experts to that kind of system of education. So
Right.
I just say you can only be an expert of your own family. If you see,
True.
yeah.
Right.
So then we're all just learning and
Yeah.
adjusting to the uniqueness of our family. So
And for
yun, I
those
think,
of us who are already giving training to other parents or homeschool groups or even
yeah,
schools, no? Even schools
yeah,
right now, you were asked to even talk to tutors and teachers.
yeah,
Same with
yeah,
me. Schools have also asked me to talk about home education. Um, how have you been able to go beyond now, no, going beyond the homeschool community itself, and
yeah,
it's like we're bursting in the seams now.
yeah,
We're going beyond, and we're even being asked to talk in
yeah.
school settings and all that.
Yeah.
How was that like for you?
It was, it was a, it was actually the sort of like icing in the paradigm shift. It's like, wow, parang,
It was a
that
dream.
yeah, the dream come true. And that there's a lot of work still being
Right.
done. So we're just matunog now because of the pandemic and everything, but a lot of little channels are opening. I mean, my greatest experience, I would say, in terms of that kind of respect and inclusion was when Asian Institute of Management invited us to be part of a panel to understand COVID-19, education during and after COVID-19. No? So there's the private school, there's the UP group, there's the DepEd, there's NGOs doing, education efforts. Then there was us, the homeschooling. And for some reason, I felt like I was the son in that group, because everybody was looking into homeschooling, because they couldn't figure out how to roll out the modular. Of course, syempre, they had to do it. Not everybody could homeschool, but they said if only every family can homeschool, if only, you know,
That's amazing, no?
yeah,
From not being accepted in mainstream, quote unquote, or
yeah,
from the point from that status of being questioned
yes,
for our choice of education for our children. Now we are in that position to share.
yes, and they listen, they listen.
Yeah,
So
yeah. What
that
a
is,
blessing.
yeah, what a blessing. So that was the most exciting, because wow, parang I could see all their names with all the letters after their names, PhD and everything,
Right,
everything.
right.
And listening to a homeschooler talk about how can homeschooling be one of the solutions for COVID-19.
And it's not just in our country, yeah. Not
Yeah,
just in our
yeah,
country.
yeah.
Personally, I had been invited also to speak to a group of parents in Indonesia about home education, about homeschooling, and it's quite
Okay.
an experience as well. I had a translator translating for me, and that's to that
Wow.
extent, and it's
Okay.
it's really amazing. The advocacy of homeschooling, and I guess the advocacy is not just home education per se. It's really about family, right? Do
Yeah.
you feel that way?
Everybody's now sort of quality and quantity time at home. Yun talagang no choice, seeing the cracks, seeing the positive, seeing the negative, but figuring out. So parang meron ng intentionality because of the volume of time that people are trusted to be together.
So the blessing of home education is not just the academic side of it, but it's
Yeah.
really building relationships at
Yeah.
home. And I
Yes.
heard you talk about that before also. Like you cannot You cannot
Learn
homeschool effectively without a
relationship.
good relationship. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you expand a little bit more on that, and we will probably tie up everything
Yeah.
on
Well,
that.
of course, learning happens in a environment, in a connection, and that's pretty much very neurological and medical. Learning happens between two stimulus, diba? Like a connection. So, like for the neuron, a neuron connects to another neuron through a synapse, but there has to be a connection. And so, educational experts believe that happen in a relationship. And the stronger the relationship, the stronger the influence, the stronger the learning. So, and a strength of a relationship builds with fondness, builds on that first trust, getting to know each other, respect, and fondness. That's why I love the fun in homeschooling. That whole component of being a fun teacher, of finding creative ways to make it, different, just to meet the learner. So yun. So if the children are fond of each other, the siblings, if the parent is fond, you've already won it halfway through. Di ba? Yung content na lang ang ipapasa mo in a way. Di ba? So, yeah, it always happens in a context of a relationship there.
Right. So with that, I hope we can get you back, huh?
Yes!
There's so much more that I want us to chat about, and so
Yes,
many
yes.
topics, so little time. But one last thing, say, one thing that you would like to tell us, or to tell those who have been following Race Days. What is it that you would like to say from your heart, to those who are watching us?
I guess it's so much aligned with the name of your channel, or it is Grace. We've just all been given that grace and the opportunity to homeschool, and let's do it with love and excellence. So, nabigyan tayo ng opportunity, let's just do it. And let's, along the way, help another person do it. So,
well, thank you so much, Donna. Thank you. This has been a wonderful chit-chat.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you for being part of what we do.
Okay.
Because that to us is an evidence of Grace Days.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.